Hello, everyone. Wow, what an incredible group of people. As Allison said, my name's Zoe, and I'm so excited to be here today and for this opportunity to talk to you all about something that I'm so passionate about, youth heroism. So as we all know, the world that youth are growing up in today is drastically different than the world 10 or 15 years ago. With social media, the internet, and smartphones as really central aspects of daily life, the quantity of information that youth are receiving and the format that they're receiving it in is unprecedented. And while it's incredible that information is so easily accessible, I've also experienced how the impact and the toll that this is taking on today's youth. There's no doubt that the world is facing daunting and severe challenges. And if we think about how past generations would learn about current events, we may think of someone opening their morning paper or flipping to a certain channel on TV. Today, however, youth are receiving information in a much different format, barraged on the same platforms meant primarily for communicating with peers and friends. You open up Instagram, and the first thing you see is a graphic picture of a polar bear with chunks of its hair falling out with a heart-wrenching caption about climate change. You're scrolling on TikTok, and there's a video of your friend at the beach, maybe a cute puppy, and then there's a girl hiding in her basement as a makeshift bomb shelter because her hometown is being attacked, with screams and alarms audible in the background. And this isn't just some of the time. With youth spending upwards of 7 hours on their phone per day, it really is all the time. And I'm not saying at all that information is bad or that you should bury their heads in the sand and pretend nothing is wrong. Quite the opposite. It's really crucial that youth are aware of these global challenges. But as someone who grew up on social media, I can say that it leaves an implicit message. There are so many overwhelming challenges, and you are so small in comparison. Understandably, this leads to a feeling of overwhelm, hopelessness, and ultimately apathy. But I don't believe that this apathy stems from genuine indifference, but rather from a feeling of powerlessness, or something that I learned recently, which is called overwhelm paralysis. So who here has ever been writing your to-do list, and it just feels like it goes on forever? You think to yourself, there's no way that I can complete so many things in such a short amount of time. So overwhelmed, you can't even start. You're paralyzed. Who's been in that position before? Me too. I'm a college student, so let's be honest, that was me on my flight over here yesterday. I think that's a position that we've all been in. And overwhelm paralysis shows us that similar to when we face an external threat, like a growling bear, when we face an overwhelming task, such as a never-ending to-do list, understandably, we feel threatened. We think there might not be enough time to do everything. There might not be enough energy to do everything. We risk failure. And when we face these threats, we revert back to our fight, flight, or freeze response. And oftentimes, we revert back to our freeze response. We do nothing. We're paralyzed. And I think that overwhelm paralysis is really helpful in the context of heroism. When we're constantly faced with these messages, understandably, we feel overwhelmed and threatened. There are so many things going on, and where would we even start? So I think this explains why sometimes it's so hard to act heroically. But the key to overcoming overwhelm paralysis is simple. It's taking a first step, any first step, and then it makes the rest of the steps less daunting. So as a youth myself, grappling with similar feelings of overwhelm and paralysis, I really resonated with the Heroic Imagination Project's message that anybody can be a hero. A hero isn't someone who solves every challenge all at once, but is rather someone who does small actions in a positive direction, which together compile into consequential impacts. Heroes are ordinary people. So about 2.5 years ago, I was inspired to create an easy and accessible way to spread HIP's message with youth. So I created the HIP Hero Club. And I wanted to create a program so that any motivated teacher or student could create a club in their own school and spread the message of heroism with their community. So with this vision in mind, I created the HIP Hero Club in a Box, which is a 3-phase and 12-session curriculum that is targeted towards middle school and high school students. And in this curriculum, each lesson is complete with everything a club leader would need to start and to lead their club. So leader notes, slides, videos, activities, discussion starters, and more. And the 3 phases of the HIP Hero Club reflect 3 main pillars of the Heroic Imagination Project content as a whole. So the first phase is Fortify. So Fortify is rooted in social psychology. As Dr. Zimbardo and other social psychologists have shown us, invisible social influences are powerful and oftentimes affect our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors without our knowledge. And these invisible influences are really powerful barriers to heroic action. So we teach about these barriers through social psychology experiments, such as the Stanford Prison Experiment, the Milgram Experiment, and the Ash Experiment. And through gaining this psychological awareness and knowledge, members are able to recognize these tendencies within themselves and then choose to consciously overcome them. For instance, in one of our sessions, we cover the bystander effect, which Ari also mentioned earlier. So the bystander effect occurs when the presence of inactive others serves as a barrier to acting in a moment of need. So this can happen for many reasons. We might think that nothing is wrong. We might think no one else is doing anything, so why should I be the one to do something? But once we have this psychological education or knowledge, we're able to understand what's really happening. In this situation, if we're walking by, we might think, oh, what I'm feeling right now is the bystander effect. I'm programmed to feel like I shouldn't do anything. But everybody else here is feeling the same way. And if I don't do anything, then nobody else will. So through this awareness, members are able to consciously act heroically because awareness leads to action. So in this phase, members are fortified against these tendencies and social influences, and then they consciously can choose to act heroically. So once members are armed with this knowledge and awareness, we move to inspire, which is the second phase. And in this phase, members explore what it means to be a hero and to act heroically. And one of the main ways that we do this is through the hero's journey. So as Joseph Campbell showed, he compiled and studied thousands of stories from around the world. And he found that there's a standard set of steps or universal set of steps that all heroes take. And he called this the hero's journey. And in our Hip Hero Club, we simplify it down to 6 steps, and we show how each step is relevant in our own heroic journeys. So the ordinary or mundane world. We all start off in the exact same place, the mundane world. The call to adventure. In order for a hero to do something, they first have to realize that something is wrong and needs to be changed in their mundane world. Meeting the mentor. Heroes don't do it by themselves. Heroes have support. Crossing the threshold. Heroes need to take a leap of faith. They need to do something when they realize that something's wrong. Path of trials. Being a hero is not easy. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be setbacks. And that isn't a sign that something's going wrong, but that's rather part of it. And the return. Once heroes have completed their hero's journey, they come back with new knowledge and awareness to share. And we use this hero's journey to analyze our own hero's journeys, but also those of others to gain inspiration. And one of those, which is shown up here, is Marley Diaz. Marley Diaz realized that she wasn't content with her mundane world, where the books she was given in school weren't reflective of diverse perspectives. So she decided to do something about it and set out on her own hero's journey and start the hashtag 1000 Black Girl Book campaign. So we use the hero's journey as a framework to understand and become inspired by real heroes. And lastly is our call to action. Ultimately, the Hip Hero Club's mission is to inspire and to empower youth to act heroically. So in this phase, we encourage youth to ask themselves, what changes do I want to see in my school, community, and world, and how am I going to bring about those changes? At the Hip Hero Club, we believe that the most impactful heroism stems from the intersection of your personal values and the causes that you're most passionate about. So in this phase, we lead members through different activities to reflect on these themselves and then make a personal plan for how they're going to make a difference. So where we are now, with the new school year recently starting, I'm excited to say that the Hip Hero Club is established in 8 countries that span 4 continents. And the response so far has been incredible. Participants at every level are enthusiastic about the content. Students are embracing the message, and teachers are really excited to share the impacts that they're seeing in their schools. Last year, we were able to have a meeting with Dr. Zimbardo over Zoom, where students from 4 continents were able to Zoom in. And students even from the club in China, where it was 2 or 3 a.m., were Zooming in. So I think that really goes to show how excited people are about the Hip Hero Club and Dr. Zimbardo. And ultimately, our vision is big. We want to inspire every student in every country across the globe. So before I finish, I want to talk about eating elephants. And I don't mean real ones, but metaphorical ones. A quote that Desmond Tutu said that really resonates with me is, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." Sometimes when we have these big visions or big goals, the gap between where we are now and where we want to be can feel daunting or insurmountable. And that's something that I've struggled with or have grappled with in the past and still do now. But being a hero and heroism requires embracing uncertainty and focusing on the next step in front of you. 6 years ago, I was at the Hero Roundtable as an audience member, and if I told myself then that I would be here now, having started and leading the Hip Hero Club, and be here right now physically giving this talk, I don't think that I would have believed myself. I didn't know how to create a curriculum. I didn't know how to collaborate with schools and with teachers. I wouldn't have felt knowledgeable enough or prepared enough. But I would say how I got from here to here is by recognizing my ultimate goal and having that as a guiding light, but really focusing on the next step in front of me and taking each challenge as it came. So what I'd like to leave you all with today is have that ultimate goal, have big dreams, have big visions, but the way to make it a reality is by focusing on the next bite or the next step in front of you. Thank you so much.